Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. The next Wasteless World Talks are here with Kevin and Bill, and a very special topic today. We will speak about nothing, and that, when you listen to our conversation, we spend a lot of time talking about nothing and saying everything. So, first question to you, Bill, what do you see in front of your eyes when I say nothing? What is the image of nothing for you?
For me, the image of nothing is peace. Complete lack of anything that I need to respond to.
That's interesting. What about you, Kevin?
Well, as soon as I heard the word nothing, I was thinking about I think it was the Romans. They had this expression about despair. And I think the Roman for despair is despare, but it means literally without hope. And so the Romans said, you cannot have despair without hope. And I think the same with nothing, that we have no thing, but you cannot have nothing without a thing in it. And so I think there is no such thing as no thing.
That's interesting. I love to play with words. I generally play with Czech words mainly, but that was great. That was great. I have the same discussion today in the noontime, and the answer was generally nothing is everything. And there was one answer which says nothing is black, and generally is the space at the same time. So it was very interesting, very interesting.
But it's really interesting because you actually need to describe a thing to describe nothing. So if nothing is emptiness, then it's not nothing, it is emptiness. If it is black, it is not nothing, it is black.
So in the last 2 weeks now, we've talked about two things that do not exist. One is nothing, and the other is time. Pretty soon, we're going to have described everything in this world as not existing. And maybe nothing, there is, how do I say this without using the word nothing? Maybe everything in this world is nothing.
It's crazy. And I think I told you last time what I wrote when I was 18 in my first book of poetry, generally. I wrote it as my own meditation. I am Michael. I am human. I am part of nature. I am part of universe. And universe is nothing. And nothing is energy, which means I am energy, which means we are one. And this is, so these words, I was 18. I have no idea about meditations because at the time there has been no books or very limited books about this available in Czechoslovak Socialist Republic. But I wrote this and I have it in my book still. So it's quite interesting that few years later, I do not want to say how many, few years later, we are back. And that's great. It's really great. And I started, and I told you probably last time, I started in Czech. I started, let's say, communication over Zoom. I recorded, and it's called About Nothing. And if somebody asks, what will we talk? Nothing. And I have 2 sessions. Today there will be a 3rd recording, and tomorrow the 4th one. It's so interesting. Every single time, so interesting when the people really do exactly what we do for almost a year together, and with Bill even longer, without preparation, this spontaneous discussion about things. That's so great.
Actually, there is one kind of nothing, which has to be a thing, but at the moment it is nothing. And that is dark matter. So looking at the composition of the universe, dark matter must be a thing. but it's at the moment it is no thing, but it must be a thing.
What is interesting that maybe I'm the only one of you who has received nothing to my Christmas, and I mean it. It's really nothing, and this was inside. This is the entire. So it was a product, and I received nothing from my daughter.
Oh, that's very kind of her.
And I have it here. So maybe it was the inspiration.
That's very insightful of your daughter to know that that would appeal to you. I think most people would get that and smirk or something, not knowing how to react, and it would be gone.
But it was a great business idea generally. You know, every parent sent to the child, or most of them, what do you want? Nothing. So somebody take it. And I think that these guys make 10 millions in one season, something like that, because it cost $1, $2, something. So the amount was not big. And it was really a great idea. So we see around us frequently that nothing is being sold. You know, with all this, let's say, virtualization, money is right now nothing. It's just nowhere. So it's in digital form, you cannot touch it. So a lot of things are going in the direction of nothing.
So the purpose in life, I don't have a smooth transition for this one. The purpose in life, in my life, has been for a number of years my grandchildren. I am no longer trying to climb the corporate ladder or buy a bigger house. We've downsized, but my three grandchildren, and their ages are 7 and 5 and 1.5. And so I am consumed with how to help to prepare them for going out into the world themselves, to the working world or the grown-up world. So if we have nothing, if we can't hold money, which is how I was taught about working, I can still remember on Fridays we would collect from the neighbors for shoveling their walk all week, and holding that money in my hand and then walking to the bank because the banks were open late on Friday night, and depositing. That was what work meant to me. So now if money is virtual and we Venmo or virtually transfer the money, how do I teach my grandchildren about working, getting paid for it, and using that to buy something worthwhile if everything is nothing? How do I explain nothing to them?
I think
I can't even explain it to myself. How do I explain it to a 7-year-old?
you know what is interesting, if there is something broken or a child breaks something and you ask him, what have you done? The first answer will be nothing. It's quite interesting. Quite interesting. This word is omnipresent here. It's generally with us. And I just, on the meeting a few hours ago, I advised, there has been some owners of the companies, and I asked them to organize one meeting where the topic will be about nothing, and ask them for the feedback.
And I would say that of all the meetings that I've been to in my life, many of them have been about nothing. They have been prettied up with idle chatter or nonsense discussions, but basically they've been about nothing.
And more important, the title, more nothingness was there. Is there a word nothingness? Does it exist? Probably
It does
not.
now. It does.
Yeah.
So that's the way we get to, that's the way we create the future, is by trying to imagine words like nothingness or other words, because language is how we create the future. We're creating the future right now. We're trying to, with language, over many miles. Sometime, Michael, we should figure out how many miles there is in the triangle between the three of us. Um, Probably more than 10,000 miles. Um, but we are creating the future with language. And so if we have to create new words, of course we have to create new words. Of course. So welcome to the language nothingness.
I have a nice alternative word for nothing, an old word. I don't have a clue where it comes from, but oblivion is such a rich word somehow as a description of nothing or nothingness. I can't remember if it was one of the philosophers, Kierkegaard, who said we must, all of us, cross the bridge of sighs and walk into oblivion.
I like that.
Mm, I
Who do you
just
think said that, Kevin?
I think it was Søren Kierkegaard.
mm. I just look here for the Czech translation of the word. I know the word exists, but I never use it. And when I take the Czech words, I will not say that this is nothing. But probably in the English meaning, it's much more closer to what I see in a translation. It's quite interesting. I will check it out later.
It's a great word. It's a great word.
Have you tried intentionally to include nothing in your lifestyle or in your work?
Oh, there always has to be a reason for everything. I think that's a trap, but that's the way that I look at life a lot.
Yeah, I must admit, I would like to say that I didn't work to get things, but of course I spent the money on things anyway, if I wanted them or not. It's yeah, and I wouldn't wish to own nothing. I guess you wouldn't own nothing, you would have nothing.
But wouldn't that be liberating to have nothing?
Up to a point, I got rid of almost everything, but I still have a beautiful car in a container in Los Angeles that I couldn't bring myself to part with, even though I never see it. And yeah, to get rid of most things would be really, really nice. And certainly no desire to have a hyper modern kitchen or any of those kind of things. But some things with a different kind of value would be really nice to have.
So there have been several books written by and about homeless people. And one of the difficulties when other people are trying to care for homeless people is that they do not want to move into the shelter because the shelter has rules. We're going to close the door at 10 o'clock at night. You cannot stay here during the day. And so there are rules. And one of the reasons that homeless people have given for not moving into the shelter, even when it's freezing cold outside, is that they don't want rules of any sort. So they own nothing. They are controlled by nothing. They are subjected to nothing, and they like nothing.
Can we say that in this relation is nothing freedom?
I was thinking the same
Yes.
thing.
Yes.
Because this is what just you described, breaking the walls generally, and really not being limited by something, but really have nothing as the main purpose. But it does not mean, I think that the people, when they listen to this conversation, they will see, okay, I do not want to be homeless, to be free. That will be the first thing. So I would like to have my home. I would like to have, okay, less things. That's understandable. But I think that the people must learn. When I started with meditation, for me it was easy because I did it before I know that it is meditation. But then when I read about Zen and so on, and I can switch my mind completely off. I don't think. I say I don't think. And it's frequent, so you can see it during our conversation. And if you would like to generally meditate, you have to have your mind empty. And there is a step between, and this is to think on one component only, part of body or something, only one thing. Because if you would like to erase then your mind, then erasing one thing is much more easier than 1,000, which is permanently there. And I try to explain it, and the people cannot do it. They are not able to think on one item only or whatever, but only one thing. But it's so easy if you do, then, and you don't think anymore. That's so interesting. And I have a little bit different discussion yesterday in the morning with one of the CEOs, and he said, Mr. Rada, I think that the artificial intelligence is here to narrow generally the knowledge of people, to put it on the same level. This is why ChatGPT will help the people who do not have such a good brains and so on. And when he said that, I agree with him. But the issue is that the level which they would like to put us is somewhere down. They do not want all of us to be Einstein or Carl Jung, Gustav Jung, or anybody else. No, they would like to be zombies with works, with hands to work, duties to pay, and so on. But they do not want us to think. This is why robot will take over our hard work, so physical work. AI and ChatGPT will take this work. What will remain? So it was quite strong message and understanding by me that to narrow the knowledge can mean very opposite result than everybody thinks about.
And I wonder why. I think they're looking for reasons to say that AI is good. I can't believe anyone would set out with the intention of narrowing everyone's knowledge. I just don't believe that could be an incentive. And it's certainly not a benefit.
Have you seen the press conference in Geneva with these humanoid robots? I will send you the link. It's quite interesting. United Nations is investing to meet humanoid robots in Geneva, the head office of World Economic Forum. And it's really worth to watch it. It's 1 hour, 40 minutes. It's quite interesting. Quite interesting.
I would like to see that. Kevin, I would agree with you about not narrowing because I see AI as a way to free us up to go to a higher plane. Because we can think about humanity and about the arts and about the next thing up rather than I remember all the years when my children were growing up and I was climbing the corporate ladder. There was no time for me to think about peace or love or humanity or the things that we should be thinking. No bandwidth. no bandwidth left. So if we can remove that need to always be working just for food or for a roof over our heads, if we can have some time to be thinking, and now we're going to go to a 4-day work week, a 32-hour work week. And what will we do with the extra time? And there's lots of different answers for that. But one of the things is we will not be working ourselves into an early grave so much. So I see AI as helping humans to go to the next level.
I think it will be so if it will be directed this way. AI is, if we will see it as tools, and as long as it will remain the tool, will be good. But already now it's over this limit. If you go to factories, it's not the HR manager who decide who will be fired. It's the AI already. Amazon was one of the first examples, and I think in New York, if I do remember properly. The investigators went into this 2 years ago, I think.
I would hate to be a teacher in AI times, because what homework are you marking? It's not your students. I mean, why should any kid want to sit down for 3 or 4 hours and write an essay where he can ask the computer to knock it up with a few good questions in 15 minutes?
I had heard that they have programs that can detect AI written prose or work. I have to assume that there are tracings, markings, characteristics of AI generated writing.
Yeah,
Although
actually,
as soon as they come up with something like that, then the AI will stop doing that if they know that that's a telltale mark. I don't know. I think there's a whole lot more that we will be finding out in the next months and years.
didn't we talk once that it could be an idea to watermark everything that AI produces electronically? So whatever it comes out, there will be a way to track it down.
And of course, there will be a black market of AI generated whatever without it.
Yeah.
In India recently, after the introduction, I think ChatGPT 4 or 5, I do not remember, there was a big boom where the applicants for job let the ChatGPT write their curriculum vitae. And it takes 1 month till the HR guys get their own analytical tool generally to send a reply, sorry, you are fired. So, and generally it was the communication between a robot and a robot. There was no human involved. You just waited whether someone will say yes. And that's the issue, I just, today I did not post it, but I put it in the newsletter. There was in Hindi written article generally from India, and the cover image was a robot sitting reading on a tablet something. These images are so stupid. I can't believe it. Why should a robot who is a digital entity use his eyes to read something on another digital device? It's complete nonsense, but the people do not get it. I think these type of images are already generated by AI, I think, because the humans tell, please generate an image as a robot reading a tablet. So it will be done. It's completely nonsense.
I was having a discussion with a friend of mine here, and his company does a lot with mixed realities and virtual reality and so on. and also with AI. So one of his clients was an insurance company, and the task was to respond to insurance claims and to reject as many of them as they could, of course. And then shortly after, he got a client whose job it was to apply for insurance, uh, uh, and so he said, I couldn't believe it, but I had one of my machines talking to the other machine, one asking for insurance refund for some reason, and the other one denying it. And then with machine learning, they kept getting better and better and better talking to each other. Um, I said, "Is that a conflict of interest?" He says, "Yes."
I think it's 5 years ago or 6 years ago, on one of the logistic conferences was introduced a case study generally where they implemented at the time not ChatGPT, but let's say AI or something like advanced technology to reply to claims, but not insurance, but generally if you would like to return things. And he said the accuracy was very high. The problem was that our computer reply in 3 seconds. So everybody who was communicating says, that cannot be possible, you are faking it. So they have to slow down the reply
Right.
by few hours generally to look like it's being processed by human. And it was the first time when I saw something like that they really slow down the ability of the technology to look more human. And what is interesting, you will see, I see in the conference, there are, I think, 9 robots, humanoid, and 3 of them are, one is generally artist, the second is singer, one is the elderly home keeper, and so on. So they are not only other people. What is interesting, that not a single was a manager. No, sorry. There is a robot already, humanoid robot assigned as a CEO of a company. Already exists, and she is in the room. There was no questions to her, I think, but it was introduced as a CEO, the first in the world CEO of a company which is a robot. And I don't know which country, that I do not remember, but you will see.
You remember, maybe they still exist, but I used to get emails from friends. And if I was to open on the computer and it would say, this email was sent on my iPhone. And it would be great if it was the law that if you got a reply generated by a machine, it said this was an AI generated reply.
Right.
This reply wasn't made by a human. That would change our relationship to the businesses we use and our interactions with these businesses completely in our favor.
This is why they will not introduce it. So
no, it would never be voluntary. Nothing good for the rest of us is ever voluntary. It has to be forced upon them.
But it's quite interesting idea, because you are right. It's not so far a long time ago. When I send it from my mobile and I do not change the automatic reply, it says replied by Android. So yeah, it was written by me, but they know that I was on the mobile phone. So, but it's quite interesting. Even the watermark is quite interesting. You know, it's
Right.
something we can use the blockchain. We have 10 more minutes right now. We can use the blockchain or anything else. The technologies are existing here, but there will be big refusal on using these. But it's quite interesting.
I think that if people, especially interactions with their banks, if they knew how little human beings were taking care of their banking business, there would be such a big market for a bank that said, we will use human beings to take care of your bank account. I mean, I would change bank in an instant to a bank like that, just out of principle.
So
So
again,
AI and nothing. I'm trying to find the connection. Somehow we went from nothing to everything, or maybe everything is nothing. I'm just playing with words. I don't have the meaning. Help me with the meaning.
I will not help, but I will mention one of the books. I don't know the English translation. It's from 15th century generally. It's about the art of paint, let's say. And there is written, there was nothing until you make the first stroke. And that's exactly, I think, because what you ask right now, Bill, I will find it. So if you will communicate after the meeting and in the noon, I get a one very interesting reply from India generally by one of the participants. And he mentioned something very similar what you just said. But let me find it. Here. The answer was, or the comment, here it is. I was thinking whether AI can do nothing or not. I guess that where AI, and then is LLM is between prompts. I don't understand what is the reply, but whether AI can do nothing. That's so interesting question. So interesting.
Well, we said earlier that the word purpose. So everything I have done in my life, there has been a purpose for, and even more so with AI, because there are programmers who are spending a lot of time programming the AI to do what? For what purpose? To take over the world, to run a bank, to figure out the orbit of the satellites, whatever there is a purpose. So there would be no nothing in AI, right?
I think you are right.
Every AI machine is being built with a purpose, programmed with a purpose. So AI would not have nothing.
Because AI is tool which is developed for to do something. So until AI will develop another AI to do nothing, because you know why there is not AI developed to do nothing? Because AI is developed to get money, and you, let's say,
Yep.
you cannot get money out of nothing. It's not true, but let's say this is in the heads of the people. So this is why
Yep.
there is no AI developed and spent millions for doing nothing.
Because
Guys, I
there's
have an
always a
interest.
purpose.
This is totally a weird thought from where it left. It has nothing to do with AI. But you think in the beginning of the Bible, it says, in beginning there was darkness and God created light. Why didn't it say in the beginning there was nothing? It's interesting, perhaps even in the Bible, the writers knew that there was no such thing as nothing, but there is such a thing as darkness.
Or maybe the Bible was written in the form of stories that people could relate to, simple working people could relate to. And nothing is we've now consumed 30 or 40 minutes just nibbling around the edges of a definition or a meaning for nothing. And when the people who wrote the Bible didn't want there to be a bunch of ambiguity, they wanted there to be black and white, heaven and hell. And so they don't want to use words like nothingness. They want to use words like black. Everybody knows what black is. But that's an interesting thought, Kevin.
We could always ask AI.
And we would get an answer.
We would. For good or bad.
In the conference, I do not want to spoil it, but I will make a small teaser. There was a question: AI, do you want to generally to kill the humanity? And there was an answer.
Yes.
But you're not going to tell us what that answer was.
No, of course not. I will tease you. But I think it was generally very similar to if you ask on a press conference, Vladimir Putin, do you want to start a war? He will say, he will answer similar way as the AI answered whether it would like to eliminate the humans.
Good analogy.
Yeah, it's a secret.
I just, yesterday I posted exceptionally on Tuesday one of the articles in my Wasteless World blog, and it was the response to this conference. Because when I saw the invited journalist, this event was quite interesting because it was not public, and the information about it was after. So they do not want anyone know before. And the article is generally about slaves and the slave masters. And I realized I don't know who was the slave in the room. It's a very, very, and what I hate most, to be honest, that United Nations, who should be here for humanity, is paying conference for robots to express themselves and to make PR generally. There was nothing else than PR. And the money is spent on something like that. So, but coming back to nothing, I think it's a topic for many nights and discussions and long hours of discussions, because it's so interesting, all the connections. And generally, I think that it's very close to what is present in every single language, as we discussed last time, that this is the silence. And I think exactly that is with nothing, because it's present. It is here. We can't see, but we can utilize it if we do understand it and its power. We have 1 minute 12.
Actually, Michael, just commenting on something you said. If you look at ChatGPT and it's for people with low intelligence and then maybe for the benefit of the rest of us, then the relationship, depending on the person, one set of people will be masters, the other set will be servants.
And this is not the right picture. And this is for sure not a picture of Wasteless World. So let me thank you. It was a great discussion. I'm sure we will continue. And I would like to wish everyone have a nice time for your waste and wasting in all its forms. Stay safe, visible, audible, and please think for yourself. This is what you have the brain inside for. Have a nice time and have a nice day. Bye-bye.